Market conditions improving slightly here, moving back from bearish to mildly bearish, still in a downtrend here, but working on some positive footing. In the shorter term, we're seeing momentum still just down in that bearish trend. Also seeing breadth stuck right here in the middle. We'll look at buy-sell ratio, and then also sentiment is actually quite good right here. And that sentiment line can actually work both directions, where it can work as a contrarian indicator as well when everything is really positive and everyone is expecting things to go higher. That can sometimes mean that everyone's bought in and there's no more buyers, and that can also create some reversal patterns as well. But in this case, we're still continuing to see a buy the dip mentality. We are in a bearish state here, still having buy sell ratio less than 1, which means that the bears are in control currently, but that's improving slightly, 0.75 up from 0.47 yesterday. So you can see these are starting to work back together again. We've talked about some of the scenarios potentially having a little bit deeper retracement here, and we'll see if these, once they approach this 1 level, when they get close together and get ready to cross over, that's when you have this buy-sell ratio of 1, and you can see some of these times where it's less than that here. You've got the red here. When it's greater than 1, you've got bulls in control. So right now we've just got bears in control, but it's working its way back up to that level. Sentiment is still less than 50%, but off the lows, 50% line here. And again, that can also work as a trend indicator where we're in a downtrend, we're in an uptrend, we're in a downtrend, but extreme in that downtrend or extreme in that uptrend. The sentiment tab is really helpful for that. Let's take a look at indices here. We're seeing a little bit of positivity. Shorter term trends are just about all moving up. We did see a little bit move higher in bonds. Let me get rid of that. And this shorter term little pattern here, let me go over to this, and you've got this retracement, this possible bottoming pattern here. This is a bottoming formation. If it can hold this higher low, here's a low, here's a higher low, and then resistance, we may get a shot at heading back at least towards the underside of that 91 level. On bonds, that would mean interest rates would be coming down. But as we've been talking about for the last few weeks, bonds have a lot of work to do. And even in a little bit longer time frame, this perspective here, some possibility of a deep enough retracement for support. This is going to be a big one going forward. We need to see interest rates, at least the market's perspective of what interest rates are going to do, start to stabilize. And that may be happening this past week with the Fed's information. We'll keep an eye there as well this week or this coming week. S&P 500, let's look at this pattern in the shorter term. We are seeing this move here on the 236 support area. We saw this retracement here. We've been talking about this zone right here, this range really between this 494 and 505, 506, 509 right here, this range and this range. So possible counter trend up, retracement. Looks like we're going to gap a little bit higher today. So we'll see if we test these areas. If we test it and kind of repel back again, we talked about this yesterday, or if we're going to break out and get a solid bar to the upside. This is still feeling quite counter trendy, but it could start to gain some momentum if we can break back up above that level. And let me get rid of this. Sorry about that. Sectors, let's look at sectors. We're seeing some continued improvement here in the shorter term trends as well. A few move from sell back to hold. So some stabilization here in really across the board, and that's what we want to see. Commodities, we're seeing gold actually slip back down. That rank has dropped a little bit here as well. And as it's retracing still a little bit deeper, pulling in less than that 236, you can see that area now creating some resistance for gold. See if we get a possibility of this 207 in GLD, and or if we can move back up. But this trending lower here, we may see maybe seeing some money moving back out of gold and back into equities. The oil USO, also pretty deep retracement, small little indecision bar there, finding some support. We may see some support here in oil. We're down to this extreme range as well. Muscle stocks group, some nice looking stocks in here. We're seeing quite a few education stocks and food stocks. We've got Lifeway, which is in here, which is a dairy producer. Some volatility here towards this upper range, but this rally higher, deep sell-off, immediate rally back up again. Lifeway is an interesting stock, growing quickly. And we also saw education, this APEI, and here's Sprouts Farm, which is also a food stock, and there was another education stock in here as well, or two. But we're seeing some of those start to creep into the scans, looking something like this. I think it was TAL. There it is right there. Another education school stock. Still lots of uptrending stocks, things to consider, things to look at. This can sometimes give an indication of current sectors and areas that are also working. That is a nice looking list. Well, that'll do it for today's update. Everyone have a fantastic weekend.